Welcome to Fight News Now. I'm John Pollock. Thank you for tuning in. The UFC completed their first of 3 straight nights of live cards in Las Vegas on Thursday with a show at the Chelsea. We're going to take you through the key results and hear from winner Paige Northcutt, as well as exclusive comments with Luke Rockhold as he prepares for his middleweight title opportunity at UFC 194. And we'll also check in with John Ramdine and Robin Black in Las Vegas. The main event of the UFC's Fight Night card on Thursday featured the best performance of Rose Namajunas' career, dismantling Paige Vanzant and submitting the team alpha male fighter in the 5th round of their strawweight bout. Namajunas controlled the entire fight using power and technique, taking Vanzant to the ground repeatedly and putting her in numerous submissions that Vanzant fought through. A cut on the right cheek of Vanzant would bloody the 21-year-old, and it was a rear naked choke in the 5th that ended the bout and gave Namajunas a Performance of the Night bonus as well. Paige Northcutt remained undefeated, submitting Cody Pfister in the 2nd round of their lightweight fight. Pfister took down the 19-year-old in the 1st round and was mixing in strikes on top before referee Mark Smith stood the two up and led to Northcutt ending the round on a positive note. It was in the 2nd that Northcutt locked on the fight-ending guillotine from his back and spoke to John Ramdine after the win.
Did this play out exactly the way you wanted it to go?
It played out great. Sure, I wasn't expecting a takedown like that. And the octagon, the reason was the octagon was slightly smaller than what I expected coming in. But I learned from that. I learned multiple things during the fight. And then I got to take my opponent down and finish him off with the guillotine. So that worked out great.
Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you very much.
John Ramdine also spoke with the #1 contender in the middleweight division, Luke Rockhold, as the AKA fighter gets set for the biggest fight of his career as he meets undefeated champion Chris Weidman in the co-feature of UFC 194 on Saturday.
He'll come forward. He's never felt somebody that's going to defend his wrestling, reverse position, and put him in bad positions on the ground. He's used to being able to dominate guys with his wrestling, intimidate them on the feet, take them down and dominate them on the ground. If he gets his takedown, he's going to find himself in a worse position on the ground than he is on the feet.
And finally, we hear from some of the industry's smartest minds as they weigh in on Saturday's featherweight title fight between Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor.
McGregor, he feels comfortable when he puts people against the cage. But for sure, Aldo knows what to do. They're there on the Epidemias, such amazing coach. They know what to do. And my prediction about this fight, I believe Aldo going to beat him bad because now it's something personal.
I always was saying Conor McGregor, and I think I'm sticking with that. But that's saying Jose Aldo is no joke, man. He kicks like a beast. He's been in 5-round fights. He watched Conor McGregor get taken down over and over again in his last fight with Chad Mendes. So it makes it a more interesting fight. Does Jose Aldo just stick to a stand-up fight, or is he looking to use the wrestling at the same time to really mix it up? It's going to be an interesting fight. I'm still leaning towards Conor McGregor. I think his size, his confidence, his fluidity is what's going to get him the win.
I think McGregor is excellent. I think he talks in a certain way that makes people forget how technical he is. If you look at him just as a fighter, in terms of performance, he's fantastic. This is, in my opinion, is a 50-50 fight. Aldo can lose or he can win. Don't be shocked if he loses because this is that close of a fight.
We will have tons of coverage Saturday night beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with a live preview show that will be hosted by myself along with Gabe Morency and retired UFC fighter Sam Stout joining us in studio. Lots of interviews from Las Vegas as well, and immediately after Saturday night's main event title fight, flip back here to Fight Network for a live post show as the entire panel will be dissecting UFC 194. Now we'll send it down to Las Vegas and hear from John Ramdine and Robin Black.
What is going on, everybody? John Ramdine and Robin Black across the street from the MGM Grand Garden. Of course, it is the site of UFC 194, which goes down on Saturday night. But on Thursday night, UFC Fight Night, Vanzant versus Namajunas went down at the Cosmopolitan. And I know there was a lot of hype surrounding the youngster Paige Vanzant, but I think she got a reality check as Rose Namajunas used her technical abilities to batter the Team Alpha Male product. But one thing we learned, not that we learned, we knew before how resilient she was because it was an attribute she's used in her fights, but she could take a beating, and her submission defense was outrageous.
Yeah, wow. Beautiful fight. Just a wonderful fight. And going into it, when we saw the open workouts, there was a stark contrast between the smooth, powerful movement of Rose Namajunas and Paige Vanzant's movement. You could tell they were at different stages along their evolutionary line. Rose is a fully developed striker, super athletic, kind of chains everything together. Her rests, everything looked good. Everything at the open workout. My buddy West Coast Dave not only loves Rose Namajunas, but likes to bet some money. I told him to bet on her. But we also commented on the fact that we know Paige has insane heart and insane drive and that tenacity, and that's what's won her all her fights. But we also found out that, that's not enough to win when there's that big a skill discrepancy.
But the thing is, Paige Vanzant, self-aware, she said one of the reasons, or the main reason she lost this fight is because she was not technically superior. She'll just have to go back to the drawing board. But after taking a beating like that, do you believe that she thinks that she belongs in the sport of mixed martial arts?
Well, she does belong in the sport of mixed martial arts. There's no question about it, because the raw attributes of who she is as a human being, those are things you can't teach. You can teach somebody to do an omoplata. You can teach somebody to land a left hook, but you can't teach the stuff that she has. So she is 100% cut out for it. Also, that mentality, the ability to sit down, she did shed a tear. She's just a kid, but to be able to sit down at a press conference after and look at everybody and say, I have a lot of heart and I work really hard, but I lost that because I wasn't as good as her. I'm too new. But, and we will talk about that a lot. A lot of people will. But I hope they don't forget to talk about how brilliant Rose performed, how incredibly talented she is, how good all of her skills are, and how mentally strong she was for 23 minutes or however long that was.
Namajunas, technically perfect, dominated from start to finish. There were very few areas that Vanzant could take control of. We saw a couple of times she managed to get in a good position on the ground, but Namajunas very mentally strong and just willed her way. Yeah. And I think that was the most impressive thing. As much as she tagged her on the feet and she owned her there, it was on the ground that I think she impressed the most and she did the most damage.
Yeah, and I think you just got to the nucleus of it there. We were saying and going in, Rose has those skills, but Paige has that good mind for fighting. Well, that's great. If somebody's super skilled, but mentally quite a bit weaker, it is possible to beat them by being mentally stronger, by wanting it more, by taking advantage of opportunities. But Rose was better, more skilled, and just as mentally strong. So Paige didn't have a way to win that fight. She got the opportunity to show a lot of heart, which is a beautiful thing.
We've heard in the past a lot of fighters say you learn more from a loss than you do a victory, and we know that Paige Vanzant has already lost in her career. What is a loss like this, a brutal way to go out, what does that teach a fighter?
I think a 37-year-old fighter who had, 20 or 30 fights in their life, that fight and that kind of beating would be enough to say maybe that's it. But you're 20, 21 years old, you can take that, digest it, experience it, let it sit in your stomach and let it become a part of you. And no, not only can you overcome it, you can bend my arm backwards, you can drop me, you can hurt me, you can do all of these things and I won't give up. That's a really powerful thing, and she got to learn that in this loss.
The co-main event, Michael Chiesa looking very, very good, taking out Jim Miller, and it looked like Jim Miller was on his way to victory. We saw him doing very well in the stand-up exchanges. Even when the fight went down to the ground, he managed to reverse, attack with some knee bars, which was kind of the theme throughout Thursday. Yeah. But Michael Chiesa going up in the rankings as he gets the stoppage victory over Jim Miller, I think surprising some.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. He's a great fighter. We've seen how he really uses that length really well. He combines it with desire, so it's actually made him go forward sometimes when he could have moved back. But I think it's also what people like about his fighting style. He's really good on the ground, and that's kind of when we saw the open workout, we saw the way they were moving. That's where our brain started going, oh man, I can't wait to see these guys trying to chain it together, or when one of them goes after the other one's neck. That knee bar, you saw people using the knee bar either to get a sweep, to reverse position, or to attack. And that's a cool thing you see when we looked at this fight. There was going to be a lot of prospects, so we could see where prospects were at, but we can also see where young minds in the game are starting to use different tools. And Jim Miller's a tough, old, wily veteran. I thought he looked killer on the feet. Southpaw versus southpaw, a beautiful little matchup, and a really great fight. It's tough for him, to have a young guy kind of take his spot, but I think he's still a killer fighter.
You talk about some of the prospects, of course, Paige Vanzant losing in the main event. Elias Theodoro also suffering his first loss as a mixed martial arts professional. But one of the shining stars of Thursday night, Jemaine Sterling, who fought his last fight with the UFC, and I'm sure they will up his contract or re-sign this guy. Jemaine Sterling dealing with a whole bunch of issues going into this fight night card, but man, did he look spectacular.
Yeah, he really did. You know, he used a little of the flim-flam there,
Yeah.
just kind of keeping a lot of traffic in front of his opponent, moving around, giving him some stress so that eventually he either had to freeze or blast forward. If he blasts forward, Sterling will hit him in the below into the hip area and just grind him to the ground. If he moves back, he can pursue him. So it was really nice to see kind of the way he used those tools. Super athletic, very smart, kind of a likable cat. You know, the UFC will re-sign him, I think. He's the kind of guy you need.
Tim Means getting an awesome stoppage, and you want to talk about a likable cat. Sage Northcutt remains undefeated as he gets the job done. Tremendous performance by this 19-year-old.
Awesome stuff, Mr. White. That kid, he's a riot and super athletic. Great thing for him, too. If he goes out there and he goes flying through the air and lands a head kick and knocks his opponent out, we literally learn nothing. You know, what we learned was if he gets taken down, he used very smart things. I know it's his father and the coaching that he had is very good, but that felt like some simple Faraz programming. If we're on the ground, we're going to lock him up. You're super athletic. You're going to use a power guard and lock this guy up, and you'll get stood back up. Some of the audience didn't love that stand-up, but, you know, he really, Pfister didn't accomplish a lot when he was on top of him, so it's one of those things. But the kid looked very good, and then that blast double. I know he's a big fan of George St. Pierre. That was a St. Pierre-esque blast double.
Northcutt, clearly one to watch out for.
Awesome.
Don't forget our coverage of mixed martial arts continues. UFC 194 comes up on Saturday night. This program is brought to you by Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, available December 1st, 2015.